Are you one of those people that's under the impression that becoming a taxi driver in London might be hard? Do you think we really learn 28,000 roads and the same amount of places? If you are, then you won't be surprised to hear that, in all honesty, it's actually a little harder than that. What's 3 times 17? Whenever we're asked any question out of the blue, it can take a second to get our brain in gear. Now, if we then add consequences to getting the answer wrong, you are now adding an extra pressure that can cause wrong answers. If you play darts, you will know instantly that it's 51. But if you don't, then you may just pause a second before saying it's 51. Or you may not have a great affinity for basic maths and you will need a moment just to think it through. Now imagine that if you don't say the answer instantly, or you pause and say, before you answer. Or just double check that you're right in your head before you answer. Should you be deducted points as if in some way you have failed, even though you gave exactly the correct answer? Should you be deducted points for saying, This is one of the strange and absurd criteria created for testing students that was introduced about 17 years ago. It's called hesitation. It allows any examiner to deduct as many points as they wish just for you thinking about the answer. Not thinking too long, don't misunderstand me, it's for thinking at all. That's how it works on the knowledge. That's how it works when you are being tested to become a London taxi driver. Friday the 4th of February, I released this video linked on screen now. On that same day, the number of students studying the knowledge went down by 2. Not because they passed out, but because they were punished for saying, And they decided they'd had enough of this absurd testing criteria. Both these students were fouled for hesitating. Not giving wrong answers, but hesitating. They weren't just failed, they were also redlined, which meant they had all previous past exams taken away from them. Think about that. Look at this scorecard. This student has 1 perfect route, 1 excellent route, and 2. The other 2 routes were also good, but points were deducted because of not knowing some places of interest. With the points deducted for other things other than route, the last 2 would have scored 8 and 9, which is a whisker away from perfect. But they were deducted 9 points overall for not knowing every place of interest. Let's accept that. They were deducted 1 point for naming a road incorrectly, so let's accept that too. They were also deducted 3 points for not going in the best direction or route. But the part that pushed them over the limit is the 3 points for saying which meant they were 1 point under passing and subsequently lost all the previous exams they'd passed. So if you thought that becoming a taxi driver was hard, I bet you never realised just how hard it can be. If you are unaware of the scoring system on the knowledge, you need to score 24 points to effectively pass an exam, of which you will need on average a minimum of 12 passes to become a taxi driver. To pass these exams, you will need around 7,000 road names in your repertoire and the same amount of places of interest. You will need to practice the answers to over 13,000 questions a year and put in between 2,000 to 3,000 hours of revision and practice per year. And then you fail because you said, Under the guise of hesitation, an examiner has the ability to deduct points effectively at their discretion, and quite literally for no reason at all. It brings me back to the things that must change on the knowledge. You are, in general, given 15 minutes to sit an examination, so why is an extra parameter added that you must not hesitate when you already have a 15-minute time limit? This time limit is increased if you're dyslexic or have other problems that may mean you find the testing more difficult than the average person. So as I mentioned, hesitation was introduced around 17 years ago and was done so at the time to deliberately allow some discretion on behalf of the examiners to allow them to foul someone who they felt may not be a fit and proper person to become a taxi driver, even though they had the correct standard. Now this comes down to the examiners being a good or bad judge of character. One thing I know from life is that narcissists and egotists have never been good judges of character. Being an examiner requires humility, compassion, and a deep sense of humanity. So tell me, would you, if you were an examiner, fail someone by 1 point for hesitating and send them straight back down the snake to the beginning of the examination process, removing all previous past exams and make them start again? Is that something you would do to a fellow human being? This one act will increase the time it takes to become a taxi driver by a minimum of 6 months. That's if the student can score straight C's, 4 passes in a row, which is possible but not easy. Think about that. The 1 extra point for hesitation is going to cost the student around £15,000 to £25,000 in lost income. Just for saying, Hesitation is not used in any other form of testing I know of. It is not used with any form of consistency, and it quite literally serves no other purpose than giving an examiner a bizarre and unfair way of failing someone. Hesitation is another part of the testing system that was introduced at the same time as redlining and should be done away with. Thank you for listening, and the game is not dead.